I am standing in the dark with both hands flat against the door of the cold room, and I am pushing back as hard as a living man can push, because something on the other side is pushing too. It is not knocking. It is not clawing. It is leaning, patient and enormous, the way water leans on a dam. And through 2 inches of steel, it is saying my name in my mother's voice, my mother, who I buried out of this very building 11 months ago. I have about a minute before my arms give out, so let me tell you everything while I still can. Because I think the only thing worse than what is behind this door is the idea that you might one day take a job like mine and not know the rules. The advertisement said, "Overnight attendant, no experience necessary, generous pay, quiet work." Everything in that sentence was true. It just wasn't honest. I want to be clear that I was not a brave man, or a curious one. I was a broke one. I'd lost the warehouse job in the spring, and by autumn I was the kind of tired where you stop reading the fine print on things, because the number at the bottom is all that matters. And the number Hollis Funeral Home was offering for someone to sit in a building from 10 at night until 6 in the morning was almost double what I'd made lifting boxes. For sitting. The man who hired me was named Mr. Hollis. 3rd generation, he told me. Like that explained something. He was old in a way that seemed deliberate, as if he'd decided on it long ago and simply maintained it. He didn't ask about my experience. He didn't ask about anything. He looked at me across his desk for a long, quiet moment. And then he said, "You've lost someone recently." It wasn't a question, and I didn't ask how he knew. People who work with the dead can probably smell it on you. I told him yes. My mother, that spring. He nodded slowly, and something in his face that I mistook for sympathy settled into place, and he said, "Then you understand that the dead deserve company. That's all this job is. You keep them company until morning." I started the next night, and I want you to understand. For the first week, it was the easiest money I have ever made. I sat at a desk in the front room under a lamp. I read. I drank coffee from a thermos. Twice a night, I walked the building, because Mr. Hollis had asked me to, and the building was warm and clean, and smelled of lilies and lemon polish, and the only sound was the furnace breathing somewhere below me. I told myself I had finally caught a break. I told myself a lot of things that first week. It was the previous attendant who'd left the rules. I never met him. He'd quit without notice. Mr. Hollis said the way they all did, and he'd left behind a thermos, a paperback with the cover torn off, and an index card taped to the underside of the desk drawer, where you'd only find it if you were looking for somewhere to rest your knee. The card was written in small, careful handwriting that got smaller toward the bottom, as if the person writing it had been trying to make themselves take up less space in the world. It said this: "I have it memorized. I will have it memorized until I die, and possibly after. 1. Walk the building every hour, on the hour. Never skip one. 2. The dead are never to be alone between 2 and 4. Whatever else you do, be near them then. 3. Count them every time. The number on the board by the cold room is the number there should be. If the number is wrong, do not investigate. Leave. Lock the front door behind you, and do not come back until daylight. 4. The cold room stays locked. You do not have the key. This is not a mistake. And 5. Underlined twice, pressed so hard the pen had torn the card. 5. If one of them speaks to you, do not answer. Do not answer it, even to say no. Especially not to say no. I read it the way you read a horoscope. A little spooked, a little amused. Mostly certain it didn't mean anything. Funeral homes are theatrical places. I figured the last guy had spent too many nights alone with his imagination and started writing himself ghost stories to stay awake. I even laughed. I want that on the record. That on my first encounter with the only thing that could have saved me, I laughed. The cold room was at the end of the back hall, behind a heavy steel door with a small whiteboard mounted beside it. On the whiteboard, in Mr. Hollis's blocky hand, was a single number. The number was the count. How many of the dead were currently in the building, waiting on their families, on paperwork, on the slow machinery of grief. When I started, the number was 3. I'll be honest, I didn't take the counting seriously at first either, but it was something to do on the hourly walks. And there's a particular comfort in a small, pointless task when you're alone at 3 a.m. So I did it. I'd walk the prep room and the 2 viewing rooms where the open caskets waited, and I'd count. And the number always matched the board. 3, 3, 3, until the 9th night, when it was 4. I want you to sit with what that means. The way I had to. The board said 3. Mr. Hollis updated it himself, every evening before he left. No new arrival had come in. I'd have signed for it. The doors had been locked since 10. I had the only set of keys, except for the cold room, which I could not open. And I had just walked every room in that building and counted, slowly, out loud, the way you do when you don't trust your own eyes anymore. 4. The rule said, if the number is wrong, do not investigate. Leave. And I almost did. I had my coat half on. Oh, but there's a voice in all of us that is certain, absolutely certain, that the frightening thing is always a mistake. A miscount, a trick of a tired mind, a coat on a chair that looked like a person. That voice is the most dangerous thing you own. It told me to go back and count again, just to be sure, just to prove I was being ridiculous. And because I was tired, and because I did not yet believe, I listened to it. The 4th one was in the prep room, on a steel table that had been empty an hour before. It was under a sheet, the way they all were. And from the doorway, in the dark, it looked exactly like the others. A still shape, a person at rest. But the others were down the hall, in their caskets, where I had left them. This one was here. This one had not been here. I should have run. The rule existed for exactly this moment, and the rule was simple. And I knew it by heart. But I had spent my whole life being a reasonable man. And a reasonable man does not flee from a body in a building full of bodies. So I crossed the room, and I reached out with a steadiness I am still ashamed of. And I drew back the sheet. It was my mother, not a woman who looked like her. Her, the small scar on her chin from a fall when she was a girl. The ring I had not been able to get off her finger when we buried her, that I had told the man at this very funeral home to leave on. Her face, 11 months in the ground, and not a day of it on her. She looked the way she had looked when I was small, and would wake from a nightmare and find her sitting on the edge of my bed, calm and patient, and waiting for me to be ready to talk. And then, without opening her eyes, my dead mother smiled, and she said, "There you are. I've been so worried. Here is the thing about grief that no one warns you about. It does not make you brave, but it makes you stupid in a very specific direction. For 11 months I had wanted nothing in the entire world, more than to hear my mother's voice say my name one more time. And here it was, and every cell in my body that was still a son, and not yet a warden, wanted to answer her, wanted to say, 'I'm here, Mom. I'm here. I missed you. I'm so sorry I couldn't get the ring off.' Rule 5. Do not answer it. Especially not to say no." I understood, in that moment, why the last line was pressed so hard it tore the card. because the hardest thing I've ever done in my life was stand in that room and not answer my mother. I bit down until I tasted blood. I dug my nails into my palms. And the thing on the table kept talking, in her voice, getting the cadence exactly right, the little upward lilt she put on the end of questions, asking me where I'd been, asking me to come closer because she couldn't see me, asking me, finally, in a voice that cracked exactly the way hers used to just say something, anything. Because being dead was so lonely and so cold, and the only thing that warmed her was the sound of my voice. I did not answer. I backed out of that room one slow step at a time, and I did not turn my back on it, and I did not say a word. And when I reached the hall, I locked the prep room door. A door that has never once kept anything in. And I sat at the desk with my coat on and my keys in my fist until the sun came up and the building, at last, was just a building. If you have ever lost someone and you are still listening to me, then you understand exactly how close I came. And if this is putting a cold hand on the back of your neck, good. That's the rule keeping you alive. Stay with me. I need you to hear how it ends, because the ending is the part that should follow you home. I did not go back the next night. I went to Mr. Hollis's house, in the grey before dawn, and I hammered on his door until he opened it, already dressed, as if he had been waiting up, as if he was always waiting up. I told him what I'd seen. I expected him to call me a liar or a madman. Instead, he made me tea, and he sat across from me, and he told me the truth in the flat, tired voice of a man who had told it before and watched it break people. The Hollis family had not been in the funeral business for 3 generations because they were good at comforting the grieving. They were in it because something underneath that building, older than the building, older than the town, wakes sometimes when the dead are brought close to it, and it cannot make a body of its own. So it borrows. It reaches into the freshest grief in the room, and it wears whoever you miss the most, because grief is a door, and a name said back to it is the key. The attendant was never there to keep the dead company. The attendant was there to be the one person in the building who would not answer. It learns the ones who last, he said. It studies them. The ones who don't answer, it just waits out. They leave, eventually, and it sleeps again. And I find someone new. He looked at me then, and there was something in his face I had mistaken, that first day, for sympathy. It was pity. But you, he said. You it likes. You came so close. It has your mother's voice now, and it has learned the shape of how much you want her. It will not go back to sleep for you. It has decided you're the one who will finally answer. I told him I'd quit. I told him I'd never set foot in that building again, that whatever was under it could starve. And he just shook his head, slow and sorry, and said the thing I have not been able to stop hearing since. Son, you already let it learn your name in your mother's mouth. It doesn't need the building anymore. The building was only ever where it sleeps. You're where it eats. That was 11 months ago, a year now, almost the day, since I buried her. Since all of this began, I quit. I moved 2 towns over. I changed my number. None of it matters, and I think I knew it wouldn't, even as I packed the truck. Because it found me. Of course it found me. It started small, the way these things do, so that you can almost explain them away. And explaining things away is, as I have told you, the most dangerous thing you own. A voice in the next room when I was sure I was alone. My mother's humming, the song she used to do the dishes to, coming faint through the wall of a house she never lived in. Then, footsteps overhead, slow and familiar, in an apartment with no second floor. And then it learned to come at 2 in the morning, and to stay until 4. The same hours. It is, if nothing else, a creature of rules. I think the rules are the only thing it respects, and the only mercy left to me. that it will not come before 2, and it cannot stay past 4. And in the grey hours after, I can almost sleep. Every night, it is closer to the door. The first week, the voice was downstairs. Now, it is in the hall outside my bedroom. Tonight, it is leaning on the door, the way it leaned on the steel of the cold room, patient and enormous, and it is saying my name, and it has my mother's voice exactly right. And it is so warm, and it is so sorry, and it just wants me to answer. And I am so tired. You have no idea how tired a person can get holding a door, year after year, against the one voice they ever wanted to hear again. I don't know how much longer I can not answer. That's the truth. And it's the only true thing I have left to give you. So I'm going to spend it on a warning instead of a goodbye. If you are ever offered work that pays far too well for how easy it sounds, a quiet job, a simple job, sitting somewhere through the dark hours, and the person hiring you looks at you a beat too long and seems to already know what you have lost, do not take it. And if you take it anyway, because you are broke and tired and have stopped reading the fine print, and they hand you a list of rules that makes no sense, follow every single one. Do not laugh at them. Do not test them. Do not decide, in your reasonable heart, that the frightening thing is always a mistake. Because something out there is counting on exactly that. It is patient, and it is old, and it is very good at wearing the people we miss. And it only needs you to break one rule. It only needs you to answer one time. It's almost 2 now, where I am. So, if some night soon you are alone and the house is quiet, and you hear a voice you know is gone, a voice you have prayed to hear one more time, calling your name with such love from just outside the door, please, whatever you do, don't answer. If this one followed you to the end, do me the one kindness I can still ask for. Subscribe, and leave a like on tonight, and let someone know you're listening. There's a new story here every night, and one of us at least should make it to morning. Good night, and don't answer.